So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Middle East and about emerging markets, right? So I'm the founder, CEO of Fetchr. I come a couple of years ago. I was on the other side of the table. I was actually number 2 of the second biggest e-commerce company back in the Middle East, and I was painfully dealing with a lot of logistics company. Like literally, we were at about. I tried like about 30 delivery company all across the Middle East, and it was not working. So for that reason, we built our own last mile, right? So if you look in the Middle East, the 3 largest e-commerce company have built their own last mile, which is incredibly inefficient and obviously very poor. It's like everybody's trying to reinvent electricity in his backyard. It just doesn't work. So this is what I created Fetchr about 4 years ago now, just to solve that problem. So this is, you guys know that, right? That's why, like e-commerce is growing very fast. Whether, I mean, all across the globe, right? From the United Kingdom to the US. And what's interesting is that internationalization becomes more and more, right? Like you guys are shopping, you guys are sending goods not only locally, it still remains locally. I mean, obviously for 80-90% of the e-commerce companies, but now you can see that between 10 and 20% are completely global, right? So serve what we call global is shipping in more than 100 plus countries. And 20 to 30% are shipping, like to 20, 30 different countries. So e-commerce is growing global, and you know that. And most of the growth, or a lot of the growth, is coming from emerging markets, right? The problem is that emerging markets is a bit of a different story, right? One, there is no address, okay? I come from Dubai. Literally, you can go to Google Map, and you can have like a full 15 kilometers radius without a single street name, right? Same for Saudi Arabia, obviously. Even worse if you're thinking about Nigeria, India. At least in India, you got PIN codes, but still, once you're in the PIN code, it's a little bit of an issue. So, which creates tons of friction. Again, the whole e-commerce company, the whole e-commerce industry has been growing like 40 to 50% a year, right, in this part of the world. Talking about the Middle East, despite the tons of friction, right? Despite as well that you get cash on delivery, right? 90% of the market is cash on delivery. Some markets, Saudi Arabia, again, 98% cash on delivery. Okay, Nigeria, 99%, right? So it depends, but it's just, and therefore, for that reason, as an e-commerce company or as a retailer, you put all your eggs in the basket of the delivery company, hoping it's going to do a good job to actually ship the goods, because the transaction happens at the door. It doesn't happen on the desktop, right? And therefore, it's broken, right? And this is like I always believe in incentive, right? And as a logistics company, if you make more money, if you don't deliver the goods, there is a problem. I call that the undelivery company, right? Because then you have no incentive to actually perform the transaction and make sure that you're going to get to the customer. And you're going to do everything you can, because you're going to make more money if you don't. Because you're going to get the goods to Saudi and then bring it back to the UK. So you're going to make more money out of this. And that's the problem. And that's the problem from customer, right? So again, back in the days when I was on the e-commerce side, we did like a study. All these people, like the people you hate, you spend like $50 acquiring these customers, and then you got like all this long tail of customers that only buy once and never come back to your website. 70% is because of logistics. It just tells you how broken it is in this part of the world. So this is a little bit the problems that we have, right? I'm trying to go a little bit deeper into some of them. So obviously you're familiar with this, like problem of shipping late, and we'll come back to that. But this is what we do, right? So we do 97% same day or next day delivery, tier 1 cities, but also like most of the country we operate for, like Bahrain, UAE, and so on. Again, 90% is cash on delivery, okay? We talked about this, and we do about 2% return. And when we talk about return, we're talking about logistics return, right? Just the ability of the delivery company to actually find you, right? Most of the industry is working between 12 and 14%, which is a killer. It kills your GMV. It kills the customer experience. Some countries, again, like Saudi Arabia, the return can go as high as 40%. Right? So, and when I talk about a broken system, if you spend, it's a $10 T-shirt, you spend $15 to bring the goods to Saudi, and then another $15 to bring it back. On 40% of the item, you cannot make money unless the logistics company starts doing its job properly. limited delivery options. I think you mentioned that, right? I think that the whole, it's crazy when you think about it. Right? The whole logistics industry still work on an address system. So it's crazy in countries where there is no address. So forget that. But it's also even crazy. It's even crazier when you think about, like, people are not immobile anymore, right? People are mobile. People are buying a cell phone, including in emerging markets, right? So, like, emerging markets is a lot about smartphone. It's leapfrogging completely desktop. You know that. But what's interesting is that let's make your phone your home, right? And why, as a customer, do you have to sit 6 hours at home to receive a package? It seems nonsense. The whole logistics company has the duty to actually work around you and make sure that they're going to find you. And will find you through your phone. So this is a little bit about how it works.
Let's send a package. Simply choose a pickup location and the package size. Specify the item you're sending. Set a photo of the item you wish to send. Choose a date and time most suitable for pickup. Provide the name and phone number of the recipient you're sending your package to. Choose your payment method. Review your order and confirm. And you get a reference number to track your order.
So we have two business models, right? One is B2C that represents like about 90% of the revenues. So this is just like shipping, mostly for the e-commerce companies, a little bit for like the brick and mortar retailers, for which we build like omni-channel type of solutions, and about 10% is customer to customer. Okay. Inability to provide delivery instructions. Like, again, if you think about the typical delivery experience and how it works, right? So you receive anywhere between 3 and 5 phone calls. One from the dispatch center. So literally, usually it comes at about 7 a.m. So if you don't pick up that call, that's it. Your good's not going to get delivered. So that's one. And then 2, you receive a call from the driver. Okay. So think about a driver that in this part of the world that is not here, that has not been living here for quite some time. So is literally is discussing with you like 10 minutes, and you trying to define where you live using landmarks. So do you know the 7-Eleven? Yes. Then turn right. Then 2nd Street on the right. And then do you see me? Yes. This is literally how it works. Okay. So it's just horrible. So forget all the preferences, right? Like, one of the things that we found is that, like, again, having the logistics company work around what customer wants is the ability to put preferences as customer, right? So again, in markets where you always receive the same phone calls from the driver, you can put as a preferences, don't call me 5 minutes before, leave it at receptions, like all that stuff is integrated into the platform, right? Again, to provide a better customer experience, because if the customer has a good experience, he's gonna buy again, right? And that's really what we're trying to do, enabling the whole e-commerce ecosystem. And then the last one is returns, right? We talked about this. So if the regular logistics is a nightmare, the reverse logistics is even worse, right? Because again, we're talking about a goods that you want to return. It's a horrendous process. You got like multiple phone calls. You're trying to make it work. So for us, it's just super easy. Again, so it's similar to a little bit to ship. You just take a picture, and then you ask for return, and we come within 20 minutes within most of the areas. On the international side, we actually have a partnership with DHL, right? Because obviously we're not every part of the world, but you still need to have a global network. So that's how it works. You collect the return packages from the customers, then you bring it to DHL, who does the cross-border delivery, and then they return the package back to the e-commerce clients. And there is like a lot of tremendous company, but coming from what we are, we're the first company ever to be funded by a top 3 VCs. Like the Middle East is not very famous for its innovation, and I'm very proud as an entrepreneur to be able to have like some really good guys on board, right? So we got NEA. So for those who know like about the VCs, we got a bunch of guys, both coming from the region. We're trying to get the best of both worlds from both the region to get obviously the network, especially in Saudi Arabia, and then people who understand products. I'm super proud to be an Endeavor entrepreneur too. And that's it. That's where we are. We're in 4 countries right now: UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. Planning to open 11 more countries within the next 18 months. So that's part of the fun. And obviously, like where we want to be is always we see the addressable market as like all these markets where there is no addresses, where e-commerce is booming, and where people are going like straight to smartphone. So like for example, if you think about like Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, about 70 to 80% of the transactions happen on the smartphone, right? So we want to be in these countries because if people are using their phone to buy stuff, let's make their phone their home, and it's going to be easier for us to get them to use the app. That's it. Thanks a lot.